Okay, let's work on problem 17. I wanted to do a recording of this even though we did this in class. So problem 17 was a continuation of 16, the auditing case. Remember, we got to have some context here. We're analyzing the data for Pizza My Heart food truck, so they obviously deliver pizzas, or they don't deliver, they serve pizzas out of their food truck, and they have a couple different trucks. And you can imagine that customers are paying with cash at the food truck, they're paying with credit card. That's going to be important. You'll want to study the um, entity relationship diagram. But then when we get down to the problem, there's 3 steps to it. Number 1, they want us to summarize daily sales, daily cash sales, and daily credit card sales by truck 1. So this requires us to understand our data. You have to look here and say, where are we going to get sales? Well, here we've got in our received payments, we got cash amount and we have credit card amount. So we're probably going to use both of those. But you'll see that this data here has been changed, the data that they've given us. And so let's just jump right in, summarize daily sales, daily cash sales, and daily credit card sales. So we're going to start with our cash receipts data. Going to download it, open it up, and we just want to summarize it by day. So let's enable editing, enable the content, and we should be ready to go. I'll zoom in here so you can see a little closer. I mean, you need to be familiar with your data. Every row represents a single order. We can tell that because the order ID doesn't look like it's duplicated. We can see what they ordered. Here's the total. They ordered 4 of those pizzas at $15 each, so a total of 60. And if we take a look at some point, that's what we ordered, and we can see it was a cash or credit sale. 1 is cash, 2 is credit. And we can see whether it was sold by truck 1 and sold by truck 2. And so what we want to do is we just want to like roll up all our daily cash receipts. In other words, our daily sales. They seem to be synonymous in this data set. So to do that, we're actually going to end up with this. They've actually done this on this tab. But let's go ahead and do it. We're going to do it with a pivot table. So we're going to insert a pivot table. We'll zoom in. And first thing is we want to summarize by day. So I'm going to roll down sales date. By default, it aggregates up. It creates buckets for our highest level in the hierarchy, which is months. But we don't want that. We're going to drag months out so we can get all the days. Then we're going to take our total sale and we're just going to sum it. It defaults to sum, so we accept that. But we want to split it out by cash or credit. And you can see that. So 1 is cash, 2 is credit, and grand total is the combination of the two. So that gets us our answer to number 1. We have taken our daily sales. We're summarizing our daily sales. Our daily total sales is right there. Our daily cash sales is right there. And our daily credit sales is right there. This is credit card. So then if we move on to number 2, I think there's a mistake here in the problem, and I've submitted a ticket. It says summarize daily deposits by truck 1, and so we're going to assume that's going to be found in the bank deposits. So if we open that, and I'm going to put it to the side here, remember we got to keep these straight. So I'll enable editing. We have to keep these straight. So on my left is our daily deposit data. On my right is our daily sales data. And you can see the raw data that they provide us in the deposits looks a lot like, in fact, I think it's exactly like the sales information. And so I think they meant to give us something else. But if we scroll across, we don't actually see any deposit columns. There's nothing that would indicate to me, hey, this is how we're going to roll up our deposits. And so I think they were intending for us to roll this up from this data, but it's not clear how they're rolling up these deposits. You can see here, it's going to look very similar. This is how we rolled it up. It's going to look very similar. So we're going to get to this in just a minute. So basically what we're going to do is part 2, we're just going to assume that it's been done for us and it's right here. So I think that's a correction they need to do. So that's part 2. And then that gets us to part 3. Prepare a reconciliation of daily receipts with daily deposits. And it's not clear at what level they want to aggregate this up to. It's obviously daily, but up here they've talked about truck 1 and truck 1. And so they could be more specific here and say prepare a reconciliation of daily receipts with daily deposits for truck 1. But they don't say that. So we kind of have to explore the data. So we might say, okay, here's our daily deposits rolled up. And here's the daily deposits, daily cash receipts that we rolled up. And I'm just going to copy our cash receipts because I want to reconcile them to my deposit. Now remember, let's put that down 1. Think about the relationship between a deposit and a cash receipt. Basically, it's a one-to-many. For every deposit on a day, it's going to be made up of multiple cash receipts. So I might be receiving cash, and cash receipts isn't really the most accurate term. It's receipts because they seem to be combining cash and credit card receipts. So basically sales. So for every cash receipt I make, I'm going to combine it with other cash receipts in that day and then take one deposit to the bank. So let's just kind of do this. I brought our date column over just so that we could do a quick check, scroll up, scroll down. The dates seem to line up. So this would be my cash receipts for the day. The second column was my credit receipts. So people paying by credit card. And then if you combine them, that was our total receipts. So we could say, okay, maybe they wanted us to just compare our total receipts to our total deposit for that day. So if we just kind of took the difference, did a variance analysis, let's say we're going to take our deposit minus our receipt because we're mostly interested in seeing if let's actually do it the other way. Thinking about this, this is what we should have got and this is what we should have taken to the bank. And if there's a discrepancy, we want to know that. So however it works, like if we do it this way and we subtract our cash receipts, then if there's a negative amount, that means that we deposited less than we made that day, and that's a problem. But you can see here that that's a pretty big discrepancy. And so it just leads me to believe, well, they obviously weren't trying, even though the question implies it. Let's do right here. Prepare a reconciliation of daily receipts with daily deposits. They don't tell us like by truck 1 or whatever. So if we take the total daily receipts and daily deposits, there's a big discrepancy. And that's just too far off to believe that that's what they intended. So if we actually take a look here at the bottom, it says these are truck 1 deposits. So let's just assume that they meant to say, oh, well, let's just reconcile truck 1. So if I drag truck number down here to filter, and I'm just going to filter out truck 1, and then I'll just copy these. Again, these values again, I'm just going to copy the cash and credit and total. So now, let's say they want us to reconcile daily total deposit with daily total receipts. And so if we say, there's what we deposited, this is a total of our cash receipts, you can see that there's a difference of 0, and we copy that down. We have some discrepancies, which we can then go reconcile, but for the most part, it works out. Like try to think about what happens here. We deposited $10 more on this day than we made. We deposited $10 more on this day than we made, and then we deposited $20 less. So what might be happening? Maybe they're keeping some change, just be able to break change, and it may work out. So that was kind of the critical thinking here. And we could have done the same thing. Oh, maybe they meant cash receipts, because from a process standpoint, you wouldn't be taking credit card sales to the bank. At least you as the employee. The credit card company would be dropping that. So I think it's also a very accurate interpretation to say, I'm going to take my cash deposit. And I'm going to subtract my cash receipts from it. And I just want to see how those differ. And it looks like they're pretty much the same. So that's 17. Hopefully that's helpful.